Hello fellow football connoisseurs and welcome back to the Quick Take. We have some interesting news today. Of course, Chelsea are looking to spend big, come the summer transfer window again, obviously targeting the likes of Victor Osimhen, and with a new story coming out today, it looks like that may be possible, plus some extra signings. We also have an update regarding the one and only Alphonso Davies, and potentially Bournemouth's Milos Kerkez. Before I continue, I would like to quickly remind you I am running a giveaway with OwnASaber.com, where at 15,000 subscribers you could be in with a chance at winning the King of London lightsaber, the perfect saber for every Chelsea fan. 3 participants will be chosen, and all you have to do to enter is subscribe to the channel and check the pinned comment down below for more information. And with that, on with the video. So, kicking things off with the big news story of the day. Chelsea could comfortably spend £200 million this summer even before sales. If they chose to spend 300 to 350 million, it could be offset with sales such as Ian Matson, who goes for 35 million, of course, release clause. Lewis Hall, 28 million pound clause expected to kick in. Of course, he's now on loan at Newcastle with the obligation to buy at the end of it for 28 million, which can raise to, I think, 35 million after a few years if he does some things at the club. I can't exactly remember the exact details of the contract, but it can rise to around 35 million if I remember correctly. Broya, who Chelsea plan to sell for 35 million pounds. Conor Gallagher, who Chelsea I would imagine would be looking for 50 million pounds, and Trevor Chalobah, another player who could go for maybe 25, 30 million pounds. So lots of money there. But what this does mean for Chelsea going forward is, although we do have issues with FFP, although we may have been restricted with the January transfer window, of course we didn't sign anyone, it's because we want to make sure the signings that we make in this window are dead set exactly what we need, and not just panicky, just buy now for the sake of buying. Of course, Chelsea are now coming up to the end of their 4 transfer window plan. This is going to be the last window in said plan, and maybe the third window, I was confused, but maybe the third window was basically a feeling out process, more to do with researching and evaluating the market going forward, going into the final big window where Chelsea are expected to spend heavily. Of course, £350 million is no small amount of money. Of course, we've already spent £1 billion on incomings alone. Again, that has been offset by player sales, but £350 million, that gets you Victor Osimhen, that gets you Alphonso Davies quite comfortably, who is a player that has been linked to Chelsea again. I'll get into that in just a minute, but that gets you Victor Osimhen, 120, 130 million pounds. That leaves you with, what, that leaves you 200 million, roughly around about that. So once you've done that, you've got £200 million to spend on a new left back and a new centre back, and maybe a potential upgrade to the attacks. Maybe the introduction of a Nico Williams or something like that, who I am actually a big fan of. Or maybe you just buy another backup striker with Broya leaving, David Washington going out on loan, maybe David Dacha Fofana being sold for profit, so that would leave us with maybe 50 million euros to spare on a striker. I'm not going to say his name, but I think you all know who I'm talking about. And then, of course, as I said, the centre back. That won't come cheap. We are going to want to buy someone who is world class, and I mean world class. That means likes of Antonio Silva, Ousmane Diamonde. You already know the list of centre-backs we've been linked to. But again, this does mean Chelsea can expect a fairly, not hectic, but a fairly exciting summer coming up. Of course, we are not where we want to be in the league table right now, but we do have some other news, of course. This coming in from CFC Pies, reported by Ben Jacobs via Syphilis, not Syphilis, Cy Phillips Sport. Chelsea want a new left-back. They appreciate Alphonso Davies and are scouting Bournemouth's Milos Kerkez. Now, of course, I'm a big fan of Alphonso Davies, and Alphonso Davies is a big fan of us. Of course, he grew up a Chelsea fan, and I've already gone over this, but he said in an interview that, you know, between the Liga and the Premier League, he'd rather play in the Premier League, and he has been heavily linked with Real Madrid, so maybe that does help sway him towards the pride of London. But Milos Kerkez is an interesting one. He signed for Bournemouth on the 20th of July 2023 from AS Alkmaar for around 17 million euros, 17.8 million euros. He was heavily involved in the start of the season, making 4 back-to-back 90-minute games, 74-minute game there, 90th-minute game there, and then towards around about the 18th game week, he was out of the squad. And so, as you can see, I've compared Kerkez to Alphonso Davies and Ben Chilwell. Kerkez in blue, Davies in pink, and Chilwell in green. And as you can see, they all kind of exceed in different areas. So Kerkez is more, I'd say, defensively minded compared to Alphonso Davies and Ben Chilwell. Although Alphonso Davies is a better aerial ball winner, while he's also very, very good at ball carrying. Whereas Ben Chilwell is ranking higher for expected assists, and he's around about the same area for Kirkies when it comes to cross percentage. I think Kirkies is a fairly decent option. Of course, there are better options out there if we really want to spend the big bucks. Of course, Theo Hernandez is out there, Federico DiMarco, who did sign a new contract recently, but I mean, to be honest with you, it all comes down to who the next manager is going to be. Again, I really don't think Poch is going to be the man on the touchline next season. If we are going to go for a 3 at the back system or a 5 at the back system, then I would probably say Alphonso Davies should be the number 1 player we go for. I think he'd be perfect in that left wing back, left mid role, kind of bombing up the field, but able to track back using his incredible pace. But then again, you can make the argument of how available is he going to be with his injury record. So interesting left back debate to be had there. I've already had that debate on my channel, of course, and I did choose Alphonso Davies over the likes of DiMarco and Valentin Barco, who is now signed for Brighton. But we move on to the final news story of the day. There is no indication that Paul Winstanley or Lawrence Stewart are in danger of losing their jobs anytime soon. On the contrary, further additions to the sporting structure are planned in the coming weeks, with new hires reporting to them. And then we had this from Simon Phillips just to end up the video here. Lawrence Stewart and Paul Winstanley will be evaluated at Chelsea in the longer term on whether they can build a club capable of walking that path, and the impact of their signings will only be one several factors considered. Well, hopefully they'll be considering the choices they made in terms of the hiring of the new manager, because that has been atrocious. Seriously poor. I think if Chelsea want any hope, or if Chelsea want any chance of becoming the team that they once were in terms of being a dominant side that is constantly competing for the Premier League, who is always sitting quite comfortably in a Champions League position, and who is getting to cup finals and winning cup finals on a regular basis, I just don't think that Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart are the guys for the job. They've built a side, and they have. I think Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart have enabled the owners to get their silly idea across in terms of what this club really needs in terms of becoming a successful club once again. They've allowed them to sign, they've done it themselves. They've signed young players who are not ready to gel with the squad. They've put them into a side without allowing them to really develop and find their own feet. But let me know your thoughts on the news today. Of course, Chelsea, £350 million budget coming into the summer, apparently, if all the sales go through. Who do you think we should sign using that money? Let me know some of the names you would recommend for Chelsea going forward. Alphonso Davies has been once again linked to Chelsea. Do you think he'll come to us, or do you think he'll go to Real Madrid? Milos Kirkies, let me know your thoughts on him. And Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart, do you think their days are numbered at Chelsea Football Club, or do you think they'll be here for the long run? As always, if you like the video, like, comment and subscribe. I've been The Quick Take, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you later.